your own past, I'm sure, has something to do with the work that you do. Can you talk a little bit about what got you here? What got you to even do the Hero Project or even become a coach?
I am coming up on 18 years clean and sober. When I surrendered and got help, went to treatment and rehab, a part of me, the old me died and a new me was reborn. From that day forward, I had some spiritual experiences, some profound things happened to me, which really changed me from the inside out. And I attacked my recovery and my recovery program as if my life depended upon it, because it did.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nafisa Sekandari, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety-based disorders. I created the Mental Health Break podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you prioritize your mental health. Mental illness can cost you time and money. Ignoring your symptoms will only make the problems worse. Taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to improving your mental health can lead to long-term health and wellness. In this podcast, you'll learn tips, tricks, and proven strategies to help you regain control of your life, all while prioritizing your mental health. If you want to improve your life, regain control of your mental health, and feel empowered, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by my weekly free live virtual webinar titled 3 Steps to Calming Your Brain and Instantly Increasing Efficiency, happening every Thursday. Visit transforminganxiety.com/calm-register and save your spot today. Live Q&A to answer all of your anxiety-related questions. So go to transforminganxiety.com/calm, CALM-register, and secure your spot now. Today I'm interviewing life coach and best-selling author Adam Jablin. Let me briefly introduce him before I bring him on. Adam is a renowned recovery and performance coach, best-selling author, and keynote speaker. He has recently been featured on ESPN, Fox, CNBC, TNT, BET, CNN, ABC, NBC, and CBS News. Adam's mission and purpose is to free people from addictions, faulty dependencies, fears, doubt, and anxiety. He is the founder and creator of the Hero Project, a high-level coaching program that has helped thousands of people. The work focuses on empowering individuals to take control of their lives mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. His own journey of triumph over alcoholism and addiction awakened his abilities to lead celebrities, athletes, entrepreneurs, influencers, and everyday folks to rediscover their true selves and experience life to the fullest. Hi, Adam. Thank you for joining me on this podcast today.
Hey, Doc. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I did a quick introduction earlier, but I want you to kind of let us know about what is it that you do and who is it that you help?
I am a coach, a mentor, professional. I am the creator and the founder of the Hero Project, which is a coaching program where I take people through their hero's journey, relieving them from alcoholism, addiction, unhealthy dependencies, truly igniting a hero within so they could return home the best versions of themselves, sober. And when I surrendered and got help and actually went to a place called the Hanley Center that I'm very closely affiliated to, I still work with them closely to this day, and went to treatment and rehab, a part of me, the old me died and a new me was reborn. And from that day forward, I had some spiritual experiences, some profound things happened to me, which really changed me from the inside out. And I attacked my recovery and my recovery program as if my life depended upon it, because it did. Well, at the time I was running a family business. We were the number one lace manufacturer in the world. I was third generation. It worked very, very hard. It was not something that was like passed down to me because I was the golden child. I had to work my ass off. And but something within my recovery was very contagious and enthusiastic to other people. So 15 years later, when we decided to sell the family business, it was my turn to be me. It was a time for a rebirth again. And I went into helping people, and I had already had so much experience, 15 years helping people, that this whole trade just came to me very naturally.
What exactly helped you with was it alcoholism that you are sober from?
Alcoholism and addiction, yeah.
Okay. And how long were you addicted, and what led you to start your healing journey? And then what exactly helped you? Was it just spiritual, or were there specific steps that you took to get better and find your own hero inside?
Yeah, well, so I started messing around with alcohol and drugs probably at around of age 12, 13. It probably started getting more serious around 16, 17. And I would say I probably be stepped over that imaginary line of being a heavy, heavy drinker to an alcoholic and an addict somewhere around the age of, let's say, 21, 22, and took that to 30. Um, now, I would have to say that my sobriety and my recovery started with the spiritual. It started with the spiritual. As a matter of fact, where I grew up, where they sold alcohol in New Jersey, it used to be called fine wine and spirits. They actually called alcohol spirits. So I had a spiritual relationship with alcohol. It was spiritual. It wasn't like I like chocolate or, I enjoy cigars or something like that. I mean, this was a spiritual relationship. So for a spiritual problem, I need a spiritual solution. But there were also very practical, tangible actions that I could take every single day to help me on my path to recovery. After my years sober, I also realized that it takes you so far, but sometimes just not enough. So with my recovery, I also added what we would call, let's say, personal development. And when you added the spirituality, the mindset shift, the physicality, the personal development, and the God development, that's where the Hero Project was born.
Wow, that's interesting that they do call it spirits. What do you mean by a spiritual connection to alcohol? I've never heard it said that way, but I like that a spiritual issue requires a spiritual solution. So what do you mean by that you had a spiritual connection to alcohol?
Well, the effect that alcohol produced would raise my spirits. It would lower any fears, inhibitions, let's say worries, anxiety, fear. It would lower those, and my soul and my spirit would soar. And it worked until it didn't work. So, what I was trying to do was I was trying to shut down the fears and the anxieties and the worries and the self-deceptions in my mind so I could actually be Adam and have this courage and confidence. And it was like, well, what could ever be wrong with alcohol? I mean, I love the way this feels. So it was a spiritual relationship. I felt more connected to you. I felt more connected to people. I felt more connected to nature. I felt more connected to God when I was drinking. So it was a spiritual relationship.
That's interesting because in my religion, we're not allowed to drink because that actually disconnects you from God. It defogs your brain. And so you're not connected. There's a whole trend going on as far as being sober now, where people are giving up on alcohol because of the issues that it's causing. I know I saw this interview with Tom Holland, how it completely was destroying his life, and it took him 6 months to completely give up alcohol, and how he feels better than he did when he was drinking. But it sounds like you were medicating a lot of mental health issues like anxiety and fears and probably a lot of stress with alcohol, and it was helping you not deal with that. Did you have to go back after you stopped drinking to actually face those issues and deal with it?
Oh, absolutely. And I still do to this day. I mean, personal growth and a connection to a higher power is an ongoing, it's an ongoing journey. More will be revealed as you get deeper and deeper, or if you want to say you get closer and closer. So I would never ever want to pretend like I'm the finished product, but I have gotten so far that it's my duty and my responsibility to help people come and catch up to where I'm at.
Do you find that people have a lot of resistance to giving those crutches up? Like now with marijuana being legal in most of the states, and alcohol being so readily available, do you find that people really struggle, like with the people you coach, to give those things up, the easy, quick fixes for actual healing, deep healing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it also depends where they are within the scale. I mean, there's a big difference between a bad habit and unhealthy dependency. and a true addiction. You know, there are fine lines, and even with a bad habit, it can be hard to stop. So what we need to do is get the right mindset into the person, the right daily disciplines, the right accountability, the right actionables, and also build that spiritual connection.
Right. I specialize in anxiety-based disorders. And so I do work with a lot of people that have anxiety. And a lot of people don't really like the focus of deep healing. They're still so conditioned for quick fixes. How do you move them over from, like, even for your own self, how did you stop depending on addictions? And really, was it a hard transition for you to actually do the healing work? Like, what advice would you have for somebody that's getting on that path of doing the deep work to not be dependent on anything outside of them?
You know, if you want the truth, it's not hard. It's not hard, but it is an emotional journey. And it's the emotions that I think we're all attached to, because, you know, there's really no pain in change. You know, that's something that people should really understand. There's no pain in change. The pain is in the resistance to the change, the actual just diving in and doing it. That's where the pain actually lies. So was it hard? I mean, at times I could tell you it was emotionally challenging. You know, you're facing a lot of things that you've been stuffing down for a long time. You're looking at it, you're dissecting it, you're feeling it. But you know, as dark as it may feel in the soul, that darkness of the soul is how bright it is at the dawn.
Yeah, and that's what I really focus on, helping people see that, yes, you might have to go through the challenges of actually doing the work, but the payoff is so amazing that you no longer are controlled by these negative emotions, by these fears that hold you back. And I'm sure your life took off after you were not held back by by the dependence on drugs and alcohol. Can you talk about what that experience was like when you finally recognized, I don't need anything outside of me. I have everything within. Like you said, the hero is within. You don't need to depend on anybody else. Share that experience.
Well, it was euphoric and scary at the same time. I found a whole new way of life and a whole new way of living. I found a new family and a new fellowship and a new bunch of people that felt the same way felt, behaved the same way I behaved, that supported me. But also a lot of my outside life remained the same. So, you know, when you're growing and you're becoming somebody new and other people don't grow with you, it can feel really, really hard, especially when you love that person. So sometimes relationships had to be left behind. Sometimes there was pain in that letting go. Also, places that you used to revisit or, you know, go to all the time, you stopped going to. Even the smallest things, like I used to use Listerine mouthwash, and now I only use Crest because it doesn't have alcohol in it. So, you know, your life is still the same with all these minor changes.
I mean, it's definitely possible to have a very full life without alcohol and drugs. It's just that it's such an easy crutch for people to move into. Yeah. Do you not drink at all now? Like, what do you do at social gatherings or New Year's parties or Super Bowl parties? What do you do in those events?
No, I haven't had a drink since July 13th, 2006. No
Wow.
alcohol, no substances, and I just enjoy myself. You know, I'm free to be me finally. I have a joy from within. So, you know, being myself and being that free and being that, if you even want to use the word confident, is what I was seeking the whole time.
You were saying that with alcohol, you felt present with people. Don't you think that you're more present now without it?
Yes, but at the time, I was so riddled with insecurities and doubts and anxiety and fear that it brought this version of me out.
Was it difficult, or is it still difficult to explain to people, hey, I don't drink? Because I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. Like, if I stop drinking, how do I? Because this is what Tom Holland was saying, the guy from Spider-Man. He was saying that it was very difficult to go to these Hollywood parties and go to events and explain to people that I don't drink. So he's learned to like find alternative non-alcoholic drinks to at least have something in his hand so people aren't questioning him. Those are some real fears that people have as far as like, if I don't drink, how am I going to explain this to people that do? So what advice would you have for those people?
Well, first off, is that what I would say is you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You can just say, no, I'm taken care of. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. If you feel a little more pressure or you feel like somebody's questioning you, or you used to be that life of the party person, now you have choices, and you can say anything in the beginning. I don't care about lying. I really don't. I care about you not drinking. If you want to say you're training for a marathon, if you want to say, say whatever it's going to take that you stay sober that night. But eventually over time, like that part of Tom Holland's talk may have been when he was newly sober. But
Right.
as you continue to be sober and you're so comfortable in your own skin, you admit, I don't drink anymore. And to other people, I mean, I'm so open about my recovery. I'll just say I'm allergic to alcohol. If I drink, I'm going to break out in handcuffs. So you don't want that. So I'll make them laugh. I'll play with it. But what I have found is the more attractive you become, or the more confident you become in your recovery and your sobriety, the more attractive it is to other people. And what I have found is the opposite. Not people wanting me to drink, but people curious of how to stop.
Yeah, no, initially, like even for us, just having to explain to people, no, we don't drink. It's just something that we don't do. At first, it feels very intimidating. But like you said, after a while, people actually respect, or you think people are going to react negatively, but people actually respect that and move on. There's nobody forcing you to drink. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with that. So tell me a little bit about this hero project, and how do you help people find that hero within and then getting them through their own hero journey? And if you can explain what the hero journey is, because I think for us, we understand what that is, but the average person might not know what that hero journey is.
Yeah. So look, the hero's journey was really discovered by Joseph Campbell. And what it is, I should say, is that there is a chronological story or system within a story, in every story that we've ever seen, in which there is basically triumph to tragedy, and it can be broken down anywhere between like from 28 parts to 15 parts to 11 parts. But I always use the three basic parts for people to understand, which is there's a separation. It's called SIR, S-I-R. There's a separation in the beginning, right? A separation from the old life, a separation from the old thought patterns, a separation from the old ideas, a separation from the alcohol, a separation from the drugs. But there's a separation, and you're going to go on a journey. You're going to go on this journey and discover a new life. And on this journey, you usually find the old wise mentor, the person that's going to guide you through this story. And the second part, there's an initiation part. So you're initiating new skills, new ideas, new beliefs, new systems to act, think, behave, how to be. And then there's the R, there's the return home, where you actually get to come home to your loved ones, the people you care about the most, in leadership, being the hero. So I use that basic template, and I take everything I've ever learned from my mentor, from Tony Robbins to my mentor Dion, to the 12-step community, from what I've learned in business, and there's a coaching platform in place, and I absolutely love it. I discover a common language with my clients. We destroy denial. We write out a mission statement and a purpose. We discover what their driving force is. We learn how to calm the nervous system down, which we have a couple of exercises for. We find out what their leading energy is. We find out if they're more masculine or feminine. We even go as deep as love languages when it's time to return home. But all during this time, it is about really giving them everything they can to become the hero within their own journey. So, you've seen it in every movie and every idea. So if it's Wizard of Oz, if it's Star Wars, if it's The Matrix, if it's Superman, my guy, right? But there's Luke Skywalker, and he's dying to go on this. He keeps looking at his stars, and his parents are dead. He doesn't know who his dad is, and he leaves this planet Tatooine, and he meets this guy Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi starts initiating him and teaching him new skills, this thing called the Force. And then you always have to slay the dragon. You have to answer the call and slay the dragon. and then there's the return home. Right. And you've seen it over and over. So if it's in the Matrix, Mr. Anderson, he meets Morpheus. They go into the Matrix. He learns that he's the one. He learns Kung Fu. You have to meet your nemesis, the agents. And then there's the return home. And you've seen it's in the Bible. It's in the Torah. It's in the Tao Te Ching. From anything in religion to any story you've ever read is the hero's journey. And we all are dying to be the hero within that journey. So my job is to be the old wise mentor to my client and make them shine.
Yeah, the coach can be like a Obi-Wan Kenobi guiding somebody to finding the truth within themselves and putting them on the right path. These clients of yours, do they ever need course correction? And what role do you play in that? Because the hero's journey, you're not always going on this path. Once you get started, you're going to have setbacks and fall back. So how do you help them with that?
Well, that's part of the journey. Of course, there's setbacks but it's the old cliche, fall down 9 times, get up 10. The reason somebody would need a coach, as myself, is because a lot of times they lose the faith, or they don't feel like they can get back up, or they get lost, confused, they get stuck in self-pity, maybe even some denial, judgment on themselves. They need somebody to say, like, no, man, so you missed a shot. We just shoot again. We just keep shooting until it goes in. Some people were born like that naturally. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan never cared if they missed a shot. The second they missed a shot, they forgot about it and they went right to it. But there were players that were just as talented, they'll tell you, in the league, but they were stuck in their own head. They were stuck. I just missed. And now they're frozen. So when you're a coach, you get to really study your client, what their patterns are, how they think, how they behave, help break the pattern, and allow them to move forward.
Well, I think a lot of young athletes growing up, they understand the concept of a coach. Like even people that want to go to the Olympics, they're not going to make it to the Olympics, or even becoming a bodybuilder. They're not going to be able to succeed unless they hire a coach to help them. But when it comes to our mental health, we feel like we can do it all by ourselves. And a lot of times we can get in our own way. We can get stuck because another thing that something that mental health professionals compete against is there's so many people giving confusing information about taking care of mental health, treating anxiety, treating depression. There's so much that somebody watching is like, I don't know where to go. I'm so confused. This is so overwhelming. I don't know how to find the wheat from the shaft. I don't know how to go and get clear information. And hiring a coach, going to a therapist, this is the reason people do that. So they can get that clarity and get on that path instead of watching thousands of different videos or trying to read all this stuff and trying to make sense of it. Somebody else has already been there. Like you've already been there. You've already helped yourself. You're several steps ahead of these people going on that journey. So the pathway, how to guide them on that. And that's what I wanted to just kind of emphasize that, because a lot of people minimize a life coach or the benefit of a life coach or a mental health professional in their lives because they feel like I can just do it by myself. But you wouldn't do that in sports. You wouldn't do that in anything else, because a lot of those, like you said, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, they could have the talent, but a coach brings out the best out of them. And would that be fair to say what a life coach would do as well?
Yeah. I mean, look, so what I always say is a mentor, right? I have a mentor. He's like my father, right? But a mentor, they allow you to hang around with them, be with them, maybe even emulate them, but you get the secret sauce. They're not teaching you how to be and what to do. My mentor is a world famous rock and roll Hall of Fame legend, right? I don't play a lick of guitar and I can't sing. He doesn't teach me what he does, but he allows me to hang around him, see how he behaves, and learn the secret sauce. A teacher literally will show you how to solve a problem or solve an equation, right? So you can get the best education. But a coach brings the best out in you while getting to a desired outcome, especially if you have a desired outcome, something in your life, a championship, but they're bringing the best out in you on the way to the desired outcome. The only thing that I would say, and it's not me speaking against myself, and it's not me speaking against you, is that I never want to pigeonhole anyone into saying they need a coach. I actually believe that what I do is a huge benefit, but if you don't need it, that's fine. You know what I mean? There have been majority of the successful bodybuilders that you were talking about didn't have a coach. It was trial and error, figuring it out on their own, and then they started breaking the mold and passing that information. You know what I mean? So not everybody needs a coach. Not everyone needs a doctor. But I do believe that everybody does need an outside reference to their lives, even if that means their wives, their husbands, an outside reference so they can see themselves clearly. Look, the Pope has a clergy. The president has a council. You know what I mean? And I think if we're wise and smart and say, okay, if these people are doing that in their lives and I'm having problems in my personal life, maybe I should have an outside reference too.
By that, you mean objective, because I feel like a wife or family member or a husband is too close to the situation to have that objective perspective. You need somebody that's distant to see the bigger picture.
Well, I think if you really found the right partner and they really build polarity in the relationship, and there's truly a meeting of souls, your life partner can see you clearly and can guide you on that. I truly don't ever want to make people say somebody's too close, that's why you need me. You know what I mean? I want what I have to be so attractive, and understanding that it's so fresh, it's such a fresh pair of eyes. But, I've known many, many successful men and women that their life partner or their spouse was all they needed.
Well,
and
that's
I'm not going to disrespect those. It seems rare because of the days and age. I never wanted to be a fucking coach. You know what I mean? So I think the whole thing is weird. Like, everybody wants to come into this area. And for me, it's like, I want to be the star of the show. To me, the whole dynamic, if I want to be that's weird to me. I want to be Michael Jordan. I didn't want to be Coach Phil Jackson. I want to be Kobe. I want to be Luke Skywalker. I didn't want to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. So to me, this whole thing that everybody wants to be a coach is strange to me, because I'm wired as a coach. I love coaching, but that's not, in my mind, that's not who I want to be. I wanted to be Michael. I wanted the shoe contract. I wanted the tongue out. You know what I mean? And now things are shifting. So I actually even think it's a trend. And I think that's why there is so much bad information out there. And I don't think coaching and all this stuff is going to be as popular in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, my whole thing with helping my patients and my online students as well is that I don't want anybody dependent on me. That's my whole thing. I want to work myself out of a job. I want to give them all the tools that they need, or make them aware of the tools they already have within them, and then teach them that they don't need to be dependent on me, on medication, on outside resources, because when they're stuck in a moment of a panic attack and they don't have their medication with them, or they don't have their me with them, what are they going to do? I want to empower somebody to have all of those resources so they know how to depend on themselves. And I think that's the job of a good coach. That's a job of a good therapist, is to not create dependency. And I like what you said. I don't want anybody to feel like they need somebody, but if you want to, like, I love the quote, if you want to go faster, go with a master. A coach, somebody that's experienced, a teacher, a guide, they just help you get to your destination faster. There are ways you can do this without them.
That's the main thing I want to say. I'm very delicate and very strategic with my language, because, A, I don't need the fucking business. I'm booked. You know what I mean? And B, I don't want people believing that they must have one. I think it is a tremendous asset. But there are many, many people that got very, very, very far in life without a coach. I'm proud to admit this. It could seem like a lack of humility, but I'm proud to admit this. Dion is my mentor. He's my spiritual father. He's everything to me. But the man that taught me how to be a coach and that I have a sacred relationship with is the guy that put the whole terminology together because he didn't like what he was being labeled, which was Tony Robbins. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a label he used and everyone grabbed onto it. And now he hates it because in reality, there's no protocol to say, there's no licensing government, there's no agency to say who's a coach and not a coach. You know, so he actually sometimes hates what he did. And he'll admit that openly. So if you're looking for a coach, you got to vet them and vet the hell out of them. You know what I mean? It can't be one reel. It can't be one thing on TikTok. It can't be one great line or snippet. You've got to make sure the person's done the work.
Or even someone with a lot of followers, that doesn't necessarily mean they're a good coach. They're just really good content creators, right?
Or buying followers. Or you know, I mean, the whole thing is a game. You know, I am deliberate in my social media because I want my social media to be specifically marketing and branding. And if it resonates with you, it grows. But I do not want to be a social media god and buy another 850,000 followers or buy another, you know what I mean? So I look good. You know what I mean? That's not, to me, that's not the purpose of this. And I've seen a lot of people get hurt.
I also want to say that a coach and a therapist or a mentor doesn't have to be people that you physically work with. They could be books you read. They could be videos you watch. They could be trainings you attend. There are ways to get this in many different ways. And I want people to actually understand, because I get a lot of people from like countries like India or countries that don't have access to mental health professionals, that I want to empower them. You don't necessarily need to work with somebody directly. You can get a lot of information by doing the work, by reading, by educating yourself and getting better. It's not like somebody wants to be in the NBA that they're just going to go get in there by talent alone. They have to do the work. They have to practice. They have to really study other people that have done really well and practice that on themselves in order to get better. So there's different ways to get to the finish line, I guess.
Yeah, many, many different ways. And look, it's many ways to skin a cat. I love what you do and I love what I do. I love my mission and I love my purpose. And so I wake up very fulfilled every day, very fulfilled. Having said that, you know, we got into a side of the conversation in which, you know, I would always let everyone know you don't need it. You don't need it. Breathing is a necessity. Air is a necessity. Water is a necessity. You know, this is a total asset. It's an asset. It's something that could only help you. You know what I mean? But is it necessary? Is it needed? And this is my profession. And I would say no. As a matter of fact, when I was getting sober, within my literature, it even says there will be a day. There will be a day, and I've come across this day many a times, where there will be nothing between you and that drink except your relationship with a higher power. That's with anything in life. There will be a day that there's nobody between you and that anxiety, you and that financial situation, you and that shot you have to take, you and that, it's just between you, and you have to count on everything that you've put into yourself. If it's doctors, if it's coaches, if it's mentors, if it's books you read. Because I got to tell you, I also know people that are addicted to personal development and still just hit a ceiling, or they have 6 different doctors. I have my doctor for anxiety. I have my coach for this. If you have that many people, you should be fucking moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, you're addicted to help. You know, eventually you got to put your head down and get in the game. You know, eventually.
So what are some ways that you take action? What are some strategies that have really helped you really grow in this area, that things that you actually do that benefit you?
Well, this is me and me personally. I've been very committed for close to, I guess I could say close to 15 years of meditation twice a day. Nothing extreme and not Dr. Joe Dispenza for hours, although I do think his work is phenomenal. But I do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and sometimes 20 minutes during the day. And that's really to calm the system down and to tap in and to be connected. I pray religiously. I do believe in God. I take care of my body every single day. Every single day I move my body. It doesn't have to be the hardest workout. It doesn't have to be the most physical resistance training. It doesn't have to be a marathon. It could be 5K. It could be, but every day I move the body and I get the physiology in the right state. So, between my body, my prayer, my meditation, I help somebody every single day. I will read a piece of literature that will help my mind every single day. And I keep those basics in because there's so much new stuff always coming out. You know what I mean? Of course, I'll do a cold plunge here and there. And of course, I'll do some red light sauna here and there. And of course, I'll do some extreme workouts here and there. And of course, I'll speak to thousands of people here and there. But the basics have remained the same between prayer, meditation, taking care of the physical body, taking a really good self-inventory, and helping another person. And when I keep those 5 strategies in place, my life seems to go really, really smooth.
I like that. To me, that's having a no zero day. Every day I want to contribute to in some way to my mental health.
Every day.
But you're doing it mind, body, spiritual, emotional. You're handling all those areas every single day and making sure that you do something for all of those areas.
Every day. And the emotional, for me, the way I am wired, like there's a big difference between me and my father, right? The way I am wired, the hardest part for me is the emotional. Well, I have a therapist, I have a mentor, I have a coach, I do the work. It's the extremes on both ends, right? It's when you get off stage and everyone's applauding you and you feel like you can walk on water and to realize that both feet need to be on the earth and that you're still part of the we and you're not better than everyone else. And, you just have to be really, really grateful for what you just did. And it's also times like where I'm grieving relationships or somebody died or, and not being afraid to cry and let those painful emotions out, which is very difficult for me. And, I compare myself to my father. A, he's one of my heroes, and B, he's a cowboy. And I don't mean that like as an adjective. He's an actual cowboy. And, rode the rodeo circuit. And they were trained like this as a little boy. You know what I mean? And somehow they truly do cut off a certain amount to the emotional body, and a lot of times I envy that because his emotions don't ever take over. It's you fall off the horse, you get right back on. I can fall off the horse, cry, think about it. What did I do wrong? Why can't I have it the way I want? Da, 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 and then I get back on the horse, So I'm a hybrid.
Do you believe in journaling?
Very much so. Very much so. It's something that I do every day. I don't actually consider it one of my essentials because sometimes my journaling is as simple as writing a few emotions down and then a bullet point of what I need to do that day. But let's put it this way. I'm a big believer in putting pen to paper.
Yes.
But when I've tried to commit to journaling every day, what I've seen is it becomes another task. Right. It's almost like I'm putting too much intention and focus into it. And then if I didn't do it that day, I feel like I didn't accomplish something. So it's not one of those 5 basics that I told you. But yeah, I have notebooks everywhere. It would look like I journal like crazy, but I know there are some days that I didn't log anything really serious down. I just checked some boxes off. I made sure I was responsible. I made sure that my tasks got done. I was taking a really good self-inventory, but didn't really dive deep into what was happening to me that day.
What I've noticed is initially when you start journaling, you're going to want to write more because you have so much that you've stored in. But over time, I don't journal every day either. I journal, it could be once a month, it could be once every 6 months. But because I've done it so much and I've kept this, I keep processing it. I don't want people to be afraid of it being a task that you have to do every single day. Initially, you might want to write a lot, but over time, you might not need to do it as often as you don't do it as often, and I don't do it as often, but it is something that we can turn to when we need it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, what advice would you have to your younger self, maybe even in your teens or early adulthood? What advice would you have for young Adam, the things that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I would tell myself to calm down. I would tell myself that everything's going to be okay. I would tell myself that as driven as I am and as much effort as I put in, it's not always all about that. And I would try to tell myself to enjoy the journey a little bit more.
Is there something you wish that you had to not get into the whole addiction phase back when you were younger? Would you have done something differently, knowing now what you know now?
No, no, no. I think we all have a destiny, and I think no matter what, God was going to put me in a situation in which I had to become a conduit and a vessel to help people. And he was going to let me choose whichever path I wanted to. He wasn't going to designate the path. And I happened to find alcohol and drugs a lot of fun and very attractive. You know,
Well,
some
that
people,
was your training ground.
yeah, some people it was basketball, and some people, it was, there's a lot of different things. So I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I don't know what could have happened if I did.
I mean, we get trained for the job we're supposed to. What is the saying? God doesn't call the prepared; He prepares the called. So
Yeah.
you were prepared, and then you were called to do what you're doing. And that just spoke to me a lot, because a lot of us have a lot of really negative experiences growing up, and we could look back and be like, why me? But if you look back, we say, wow, that really helped me become who I'm supposed to become. Not to minimize trauma or bad experiences, but just looking back and seeing how we have been prepared to do the things that we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm somebody that has a deep, profound respect for people's trauma, as long as they realize that everybody has trauma and we have to move forward from it.
Right.
One of the things I learned that is sensitive to say, but it's 1,000% true, is trauma is not measurable. So if it's a rape victim, which is fucking disgusting, if it's somebody in Iraq, or if it's a 3-year-old girl that mom's just screamed at them at the top of their lungs because they're about to touch the stove, those all could feel the same way. There is no way to prove whose trauma was worse.
Right.
You know what I mean? And those are 3 horrible things. You know what I mean? A 3-year-old getting screamed, like, you know what I mean? It could shock the nervous system. You know what I mean? A rape is disgusting. It's absolutely the worst, you know what I mean? And being in war, but yet it's not measurable. It's not measurable. Not one's is worse than the others. So I do believe, and have a really deep, profound respect for people's trauma, but you have to move forward. You can't use it as the reason why you are who you are.
Yeah, it shouldn't hold you back and keep you stuck. That's when it continues to harm you, and you suffer. So yes, definitely move forward. Where can people find you and connect with you, and where can people learn more about you?
Yeah, so I made it really simple. It's Adam Jablin on all platforms. So my website's adamjablin.com. My Instagram is Adam Jablin, TikTok, Facebook, all of that. So you can find out anything about me. And, if you're interested in working with me, you can call me or my assistants, and we'll make sure we set up a consultation. But, I'm out there to help.
Thank you. I'll put all that information in your show notes as well. But it was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Doc. Wonderful to be with you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Adam. If you want to learn more, you can visit transforminganxiety.com/podcast. Share your comments down below and let us know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment about this episode. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.